It's now my pleasure to introduce to you the Commissioner of the Vermont Department of Corrections, Andrew Pallito.
I think we all know full well by now that we are in the middle of some of the toughest economic times we've seen in the last 30 or 40 years in the United States and in Vermont. Yet we're hiring on 20-plus new correctional officers, and in another couple of weeks we'll start another academy class with another 20 or 30 new correctional officers. The reason being, something you said in your speech, this is the toughest beat that we have to walk in the state. A lot of the conversations that we've had lately focus on the numbers of nonviolent people incarcerated. Make no mistake, there are numbers of violent people that are incarcerated that you are charged with taking care of. As a group, individually, the numbers are, we have units of 20 or 30 or 40 offenders to one unit with one correctional officer. These are tough, tough jobs. As a result, even in good economic times, we would see a turnover rate that's pretty high. In bad economic times, we're still seeing a 20% turnover rate in correctional officers. That's not different than what all departments of corrections across the country face. It's an acknowledgement of how tough these jobs are. If you stick with it, and you remember the things that you brought out in your speech of honor and integrity, most of our superintendents started as correctional officers. Our deputy commissioner sat in your chair at one point. Our chief of security sat in this chair at some point. It's a job that can offer you solid career growth with a lot of opportunity. I started as a pay grade 18 or 19 in state government 20 years ago. So there's a lot of career growth opportunity in these jobs, in your jobs, in state government, period. And I think it's indicative of how hard it is, the fact that we're still hiring given the economic times. But always remember those things that you brought out. That was one of the best speeches that I've heard in our graduations, and I've got 10 years of graduation, so I've heard quite a few of them. You're going to need your family members. You know, there's a lot of decompression with these things, with jobs such as we have. I think probably it feels like everybody knows. I went to the town meeting in Barrie the other night. There's a little decompression that you feel after a meeting of that sort, and same thing in your job. And in my case, my spouse was with me, and she got the decompression on the way home. And so there's some things that your family are going to feel, and you're going to need that support. I could not do this job without a solid family structure to back me up. And I encourage you to kind of be aware of your spouse probably has a job that they're going to deal with, or a tough day, and it can kind of really infiltrate your life, because the stuff that we deal with is very, very difficult, and nobody else in state government deals with on a day-to-day basis what we deal with. And I think we're seeing a lot of recognition of our hard work in the legislature right now around the conversations of challenges for change and the resistance of actions against the Department of Corrections. But so you have a lot of support. Count on the people that you work with, and always remember the things that the Correctional Academy has taught you, and I think you'll have a long and successful career. You have benefits, time off, all the things that come with a job in state government, access to a retirement plan, access to a deferred comp plan. Those are kind of gold standards in employment that as correctional officers you will have access to at some point if you're hired into a permanent job, for those of you that are temporaries. But in terms of the overall career growth, from my perspective, this is one of the best ways to start. So thank you, and welcome to the Department of Corrections, and you'll see a lot more of me, I promise you. Thank you. One of the things that's always my pleasure to do is introduce the Secretary of the Agency of Human Services. He was the Commissioner of Corrections for 4 years, so he knows full well what it's like to work for this department, because he had a lot of people around him reminding him of it, and he still has. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Secretary Rob Hofmann.
Good morning, everybody. Real pleasure to be here. This is one of the most enjoyable aspects of being commissioner or being secretary, is to be here to welcome our new staff and welcome their families as well. It's a pleasure to see some of my former colleagues from the department. It's an honor to have General Dubey here. We made a conscious decision several years ago to really try and elevate the recognition at these events to commensurate with the importance of the jobs that you're signing on for. And so we've had the pleasure to have Governor Douglas, the brother of the General, Lieutenant Governor Dubey, leaders of both parties within the legislature. The Chief Justice of the Vermont Supreme Court has also honored us with being here at graduation and speaking. And so I think it's a reflection of how important we think the job that you are signing on for. There's a lot of attention that's paid across the way, particularly seasonally this time of year at the legislature. But it's maybe the difference between the 100-yard dash and the marathon. You folks are signing up for the marathon in terms of a job that doesn't stop, 24/7, round the clock, over and over again. I often say to people at 2 o'clock on Christmas morning when everybody else is asleep with, dreams of sugar plums or whatever we're supposed to be dreaming about, you or your colleagues will be staffing our facilities to make sure that they're safe and secure, both for those of us on the outside and those of you on the inside. And I think it's good that on the back of this program we just give a sampling, just a sprinkling of the things that you're expected to know. The job of a correctional officer is so much more sophisticated, so much more important than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago when it was just simply watching some people, guarding some people. It's evolved just like a lot of things in society, and the expectations are through the roof that we're going to live up to what you've been trained to do. So I would echo what Matthew said, as well as Andy, in terms of the opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in this department. Part of the plus side of all of this change that's swirling around us is that there's an opportunity to step up for those people that are capable. And we are absolutely fervent in trying to reward merit as much as possible. And it's tough to do in a sort of public bureaucracy, but we will fight tooth and nail to recognize and promote people that deserve it. And there's people, I see sprinkling of people in the audience. Andy is a good example of that in his career, the deputy commissioner, and on down the line, the superintendents that are in the audience and others. We've asked a lot of people to step up as I scan the audience, either in a similar job to what they've been doing, just take on the security audits. If you haven't already heard, the expectations are radically elevated from where they were a few years ago in terms of hundreds of details. Bill Lawhorn here is the catalyst behind that effort. So there's both high expectations and a lot of opportunity, and I just want to welcome you, welcome your families, and it's just a real pleasure to be with my colleagues from the department and you, our new colleagues. So welcome aboard.